All right. Hey lovers. Hold on, wait. Hey lovers, Faye here, and today, you guessed it, we're going over 1 Samuel. I told you that in my last video. So, thank you so much for joining me in this series. What I'm doing is I'm reading one chapter a day, or just 7 chapters every week, and we're going to review it weekly. Last week we did Song of Songs, and this week, and Song of Songs is kind of short. It was 8 chapters, so we just did it all at once. Now we're going over 1 Samuel 1 through 7. Just to lay down a foundation. I'm not starting in going in chronological order of reading through the Bible. That is the goal, is we'll actually go through the Bible in 3 years, because technically it takes roughly about 3 years to read the Bible one chapter at a time. So I just want you to join me in the journey and, read the Bible one chapter at a time. Let's take it slow. Let's go through it. I'm not preaching. I'm just reading, and I want it to be a dialogue, We'll get there. It's just the beginning, just second posted. So, stick with it. It probably will get interesting. So, yeah. So, let's go ahead and get straight into the word. All right. So, it starts off with Hannah. All right. So, Hannah is the wife of Elkanah. I'm not good with names. Let's just flash. I'm not good with names. Okay. So she's the first wife of Elkanah. Elkanah is married and has a second wife that torments Hannah because she doesn't have any kids, but the second wife does. And Hannah is actually Elkanah's favorite. So that's probably the underlying reason why she torments her. Like, oh, you may have his love, but I have his kids. But anyway, so she's upset, and she goes and she's praying at an altar to God with all of her heart, and she's like, just give me a son. I would dedicate my son to you. Just give me a son. She just wants to have a child, because to be barren at that time, back in the day, women were just for carrying seeds. I mean, not just, but that was like a big part of their identity. So imagine something that, you get it. You might not, I don't, anyway. So anyway, it was a big part of her identity, and that's something that she wasn't able to do. So she was extremely sad about it, and she went to the Lord in prayer about what she wanted. And she said that she would dedicate her son to him, but she just wanted to just give birth. And, so she was praying at the altar, and Eli saw her praying. And we'll get more into Eli, and you'll know more about Eli once we circle back and go through the first chapters of the Bible. But anyway, right here, Eli, he's the guy in charge. That's what we need to know right now, right? So he's the guy in charge, and he sees her. She's like, you drunk. You need to stop. And she's like, I'm not drunk. I'm praying. And he was like, oh, my bad. You're just praying. I hope God gives you, what you're praying for. And she was like, appreciate it. May God bless you too. And not those exact words, but pretty much it, right? And so she leaves, whatever. And then her and Elkanah, they have a child. They ended up, conceiving a child. And so, it technically says they were intimate and conceived a child. So yeah, I know she was happy about that, and then so in 1 Samuel 2nd chapter. Okay, hold on, wait. Okay, so, and here's the part that I think really stood out to me, was actually in 1 Samuel 1 23. And so when Hannah told her husband, like, yo, this is what's up. I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna have this child. I'm gonna wean this child, and then after I wean the child, then I'm gonna give the child to the Lord. And then Elkanah was like, hey, yo, he didn't question her. It's not written here that he questioned her at all. What he said is, do what you think is best and stay here until you wean him. May the Lord confirm your word. So Hannah stayed there and nursed her son until she weaned him. And so I thought that was like, well, at least it stood out for me just because, you know, he kind of honored what she wanted to do with the child. And a lot of people today be like, no, what the man says is the last word. But sometimes when you following one God, then you kind of, you know, it's, you know, yeah. Anyway, so they dedicated the child to the Lord, and they left the child actually with Eli. And she was like, yo, you remember me? I was praying. You thought I was drunk. I wasn't really drunk. And, you know, here's the son. We're going to leave him with you. All right. And so she's super happy. She said a prayer. The prayer is really good. I really do recommend, if you haven't read it yet, to read the prayer, because it's kind of like to me, it was like almost like a balance of some sort. Like, you know, the God gives, God takes, God, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just how, you know, he took away her feeling or whatever of being able to have a child, because she was the first wife and didn't have a child. And then he gave her a child, and now he's taken the child away from her. But, you know, it later says that, you know, they've continued to like go and visit Samuel, like, and bring him clothes and stuff like that. And then Eli was like, yo, may God bless you. And then she went on and she had, you know, more kids. She had, what, 2 boys and 3 girls, or 3 boys and 2 girls? Anyway, she had more kids. So God honored her. And I thought, you know, of course, that's dope. They go into talking about Eli's family. So Eli is taking care of Samuel, but he also has his own sons. And his sons are wicked. And they go into telling you how they're wicked and how they're abusing their powers as being like the judge or the priest or of the people, and how they're kind of like making a mockery of like the traditions and saying like, I'm gonna take it by force, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And so God was like, yo, your family is wild. And he actually sent someone to Eli and told him like, your family is tripping, you wilding, you haven't corrected them, judgment's gonna come on your family, and your sons are gonna die on the same day. You're not gonna like it. And I said once before, I gave you like such high honor and high praise, but you don't know how to act. So I can't continue standing by you when you letting your family go out. You know what I'm saying? Like, really though? Yeah. So Samuel was okay. So then Samuel, he actually confirmed it again. So he was asleep and he heard what he thought was Eli calling his name. He was like, Samuel. He got up and went to Eli and was like, yo, you called me? He was like, nah, I didn't call you. And then he like went back to sleep. And then he got up and he was like, yo, you called me? He was like, nah, I did not call you. Go back to sleep. And then he got up a third time. He was like, yo, you called me? He was like, yo. Eli was like, yo, so it's probably God calling you. He said, the next time he calls you, say, speak, for your servant is listening. And so he did, and then God was like, yo, so pretty much just confirmed everything, like everything that Eli knows is going to happen to his family is going to happen to his family. It is what it is, and he should have did better. And then the next day, Samuel was like, he didn't come forth and say anything, but then Eli was like, tell me what God told you, otherwise it's going to come back on you. And then so Samuel told him, and he was like, oh. The Philistines were in war with the Israelites. And then the Israelites was like, yo, let's go get the Ark of the God to help protect us. So they went to go get it, and the Philistines caught wind of that, and they were like, yo, we're gonna go intercept, let's man up, otherwise we're gonna be their slaves. So we need to go get this, because they bring in the gods in this, and they gods is like, whoa. So we're gonna intercept it. And they do, and they have a war, and Eli's sons are killed on the same day. And One of the guys gets away, runs back, and goes and tells them like, "Yo, they took the ark of God," and they were like, "No," and then Eli was like, "No," and fell over, broke his neck, and he died. So everybody died on the same day. And it was a lot of stuff. It was kind of sad, but you knew it was coming. There was a lot of foreshadowing. But yeah, so. Oh yeah, I missed the part. So like that's when Samuel was like, "Oh, he hears from God." That's a real important part. Let me not skip this. So when Samuel confirmed what was about to happen to Eli, which was already told to him through the priest, right? Did I catch up? I don't mean to confuse you. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. But so when he confirmed that and told Eli, like, this is what God said to me when he called me and you told me to say, "Speak, Lord," then at that point in time, people really didn't hear from God like that. And I feel like that was a really important part that they put in there that you shouldn't miss. Like, people didn't hear from God like that. So for him to actually hear God's voice was like major. Everybody was like, "Yo, Samuel's the real deal, bruh." And so I guess that's why Eli died, because then there was Samuel. But okay, so let's fast forward. I already told you what happened. Eli passed. They have the Ark of God, and havoc is now wreaked amongst them with having the Ark of God with them. They put it in there with their God, Dagon, and then they wake up the next morning and their God is like bowing over in front of the Ark of God. And then they put it back up, and then the next day it's bowed over and the hands and the head is cut off. And so that was like, "Yo, you got to go. You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get out of here." So they move it, and then everywhere that they moved it, it like caused havoc. It caused tumors over people's bodies, things like that. And eventually they was like, "Yo, we just gonna give it back to the Israelites. How should we do this? How do we proceed?" So they go, they seek their rulers, whatever. They tell them, "All right, so this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get some calves that haven't been yoked. We're gonna put it on the road, and we're gonna put 5 gold tumors in there to symbolize the 5 cities that they tormented, and 5 mice as well, because apparently there were some issues with mice in these cities and all the stuff with the plagues." And they already knew that, because they mentioned it like, "Yo, like what they did to the Egyptians with these plagues is serious, and we don't want to die." Because they're people, it was only their men, so you know how they feel about the men. They like, "Oh, we need our men to survive." So they was like, "All right, we gonna send this back." So they gather and they make a good like restitution sacrifice, and they put it on its way. They was like, "Hey, if it goes straight up the road, then we know it was God. If it doesn't go straight up the road, then it could have just been something that just happened just because it happened." But it went straight up to the road, didn't look left or right. It just kept going straight. So restitution happened. They get it back and they happy, right? And so they like, they're turned up, they're lit. And then some of them, I guess, looked inside the ark, and then God struck them dead. Like 70 men got struck dead. And then they were like, "Whoa, this ark really is serious." I don't know why they didn't know that already, but I guess maybe they forgot. And so they were like, "Yo, so what can we do with this ark? Like, where are we going to send this ark?" And they called some people from a neighboring city and saying like, "Hey, the Philistines returned it. Who's going to come get this ark?" And so they came and they took the ark or whatever. And so 20 years had passed, right? And so the people, I guess, had strayed away from God. And so Samuel was like, "Yo, like, if y'all want to return to God, y'all got to leave all these other gods alone. The Baals, B-A. Well, the Baals, the Baal and the Asheroths, you have to leave all of those gods alone and, get rid of them and just come back to God." So they off in Mizpah, like praying and stuff like that. And so the Philistines is like gathering in close on them as they're praying. And then, you know how how God does. God be like, and then everybody's confusion and they go out and they fight the people off and stuff like that. And so that's how we ended chapter 7. It's going to get more interesting. Keep on reading. Like I said, next we are going into chapters 8 through 14. Love you, lover. Hey, make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment below. Let's have a conversation. It's gonna get good. I chose this as the next book for a reason, because I really just enjoy this chapters. I enjoy these discussions. So hopefully we'll have more. All right, bye. Love you, lover.